part about the fire was my dad's school is getting burned down. Kids cannot go to school.
3 active wildfires are still raging in Los Angeles. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Monday, January 13th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. Fires have now burned more than 40,000 acres in greater Los Angeles. That's an area bigger than San Francisco. At the top of the show, you heard 6-year-old Oliver Lee. He volunteered with his father at a donation center in Arcadia yesterday. The death toll from the fires has risen to 24. Victims include elderly and disabled people, as well as some who died trying to beat back the flames. Police said they expect to find more victims in the coming days. As of yesterday, officials said at least 12,000 structures have been destroyed, and new evidence points to a possible cause of the biggest fire in Pacific Palisades. A Post reporter hiked to an area that had previously ignited on New Year's Eve. It was quickly put out by firefighters, but it's possible that high winds last week reignited the smoldering remains of that fire. As firefighters struggle to contain the blazes, officials and the public are trying to figure out what went wrong. On Friday, Fox 11 reporter Gigi Graciette asked Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Kristen Crowley if her department was failed by city leaders. She said yes.
Since day one, this is my 3rd budget as we're going into 25-26. What I can tell you is we are still understaffed, we're still under-resourced, and we're still underfunded. So with that, whether it's $7 million, $10 million.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service.
More dangerous winds are set to return this week. Gusts up to 70 miles per hour could cause explosive fire growth. Donald Trump's inauguration is just 1 week away. That's number 2. Next Monday, Trump's 2nd term as president will officially begin. And unlike the high drama that has surrounded the last 2 inaugurations in D.C., officials are expecting next week's ceremony to be pretty routine. National Park Service inquiries show this year's permitted protests are expected to be smaller than in 2021 and 2017. And law enforcement officials have projected confidence in managing the crowds. Authorities have so far left the National Mall largely open to the public. That's a departure from the lead-up to the 2021 inauguration of President Joe Biden, when the district was a fortress in the wake of the Capitol riot. Number 3. President Biden discussed a Gaza ceasefire deal with Israel's prime minister. Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu spoke yesterday about the latest negotiations to end the fighting in Gaza. Talks are ongoing in Qatar over a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal. The deal would involve 34 living hostages being released from Gaza over a 42-day ceasefire. That's according to U.S. officials. Hopes were revived this weekend when Netanyahu sent multiple senior officials to Qatar to revive the talks. Issues that remain unsettled include the fate of the remaining captives and the bodies of those who died in captivity. Any planned drawdown of Israeli troops in Gaza is also a sticking point. The U.S. is on track to ban TikTok as soon as this weekend. That's number 4. On Friday, the Supreme Court signaled that it will uphold a federal law that would effectively ban the video sharing app. That's unless TikTok is sold by its China-based parent company, ByteDance, by this coming Sunday. But the law wouldn't make TikTok immediately disappear. Even if the ban goes into effect January 19th, some of the real-world effects will probably take time to emerge. And the law is vague on how it would be enforced. Some experts say that even if TikTok is actually banned, there would be so many legal and technical loopholes that millions of Americans could find ways to keep posting. The Supreme Court is expected to issue its ruling this week. Number 5. A new pain pill could soon be approved, and its makers say it's non-addictive. For years, scientists have been working to create a powerful, non-opioid drug that can treat pain without the risk of addiction. Now that quest appears to be nearing a major milestone. A new drug called suzetrigine has been developed by Vertex Pharmaceuticals. It works by closing the gateway that pain signals travel through before they reach the spinal cord. It could be an alternative to potent prescription painkillers, and the FDA could approve it by the end of this month. But independent experts say it remains too early to know how revolutionary the new drug could be. 3 of the divisional round matchups in the NFL playoffs are now set. That's number 6. The first round of the playoffs were largely uneventful until last night. That's when the Washington Commanders upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kicker Zane Gonzalez's field goal as time expired gave Washington its first postseason win in 19 years. Here's what it sounded like on the Washington Commanders radio call.
It is good! The Cardiac Commanders are the Clutch Commanders! They do it again! We'll see you in Detroit!
It won't get any easier for the Commanders in the next round. They'll travel to face the Detroit Lions, the NFC's number 1 seed, on Saturday. The Philadelphia Eagles will host the other NFC divisional round game against either the Minnesota Vikings or the Los Angeles Rams. Those two face off tonight in Arizona, in a game that was moved because of the LA fires. In the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs are attempting to become the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls. They will host the Houston Texans next weekend, and the Baltimore Ravens will face the Buffalo Bills. You can find the full playoff bracket and schedule in our newsletter today. As usual, just follow the link in our show notes. And at number 7, it turns out that bats use storm fronts to surf the skies. A new study sheds light on a mysterious phenomenon: why nocturnal bats make the decisions they do during their long-distance migrations. Female noctule bats migrate up to about 1,000 miles each spring. Researchers using tiny tracking devices discovered that the bats tend to set out ahead of warm fronts. That's because air movements accompany changes in temperature. So the bats can ride those movements like surfers as they make their long journeys to roost. There's still a lot we don't know about our spooky nighttime friends, but better sensors mean we can get more insight into the once elusive habits of bats. All right, you're all caught up. Thanks for listening as we start another work week. If you like the podcast, share it with a friend and tell them to give us a listen. Another great way to support our work is through a subscription to The Washington Post. Right now, you can get a year's all-access digital subscription for just $40. Subscribe to the Post by going to washingtonpost.com/subscribe. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.